I didn't have it on low latency for the chat.
Oh.
So I had to restart this entire stream because you can't change that when you started.
Well, oh well.
So, yeah.
This is what we get for starting early.
I know. Hey, at least no one will ever know.
Yeah.
No one at all.
Except for me.
Except for you. Only you. Only you.
By the way, did you get the book or no?
I did, and I sent it out today.
Okay. There you go.
Yes. It's a good thing I can just delete this tweet and put in another tweet. And then put that there. I didn't see anything happening. Just happened just now. Fair enough. Good.
That thing is super cool.
There we go. Okay, that one's... that one went live for some reason. Oh my god. Okay.
No.
Everything is messed up because I do one thing wrong.
Yeah, I do one thing differently.
God. Usually I'm on top of this.
Not today, you're not.
Nope,
Fucking,
not at all.
Fucking failure of a stream. 0 stars.
That's right. That's me. 0 stars. Mickey. I'm frazzled, dude. I'm frazzled.
Yeah.
That's it. Hello. Also, I know. Hello, Mongoose. Fuck!
Oh, shit, he knows.
Depends on how much you're paying. Well, Alright. Let me go delete that bot message, because that's wrong. Alright. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to TableTalk, Discussion, and Discourse. I, as always, am your host, Alejo, aka Great-On95.
And I am your second host, playing Koromon, which is really, really good.
That's right.
Oh, shit. Damn it.
So, you'll never be Batman with this level of preparedness. That's true.
Well,
And
I mean,
honestly,
not even the Flash can. God, I hate Batman.
That's also true. Well,
or
yeah,
the Batman fandom, I should say.
There you go.
I have no problem with Batman.
There you go. Sorry about that. Sorry about the false start. One setting was off that I could not change whilst we were streaming. So, blame YouTube, I guess. So, let me just make sure that, yes, it's on ultra low. This will unlist when it ends. Good. Everything is fine. Nothing is wrong, everyone. We are in a good space. You could be Adam West Batman. That's true. He's
okay, yeah, you know what,
that's
prepared. Fair. Yeah. He's far more enjoyable.
Koromon is surprisingly good. Yes, that's what I have been hearing, which is great. I'm glad to hear it. Anyway, today we are going to be talking about exploration, and some tips on it, kind of. It's one of those topics that is apparently a pillar, and I understand why it's called this now. It's a pillar of your role-playing kind of stuff, at least for D&D specifically, in a lot of cases, where, you know, you have role-playing, you have combat, you have exploration. Those are 3 pillars, right?
Yes.
Where they're the most important parts of the game. Which
makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are typically 3 pillars within Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh my goodness, why did that start?
Combat.
I didn't start that. What the fuck is happening? Anyway, so now that I'm sufficiently full.
Joke character idea of a oh, okay, good. I found my money. Okay, so if they steal it, I can just kill them and get it back. Good.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Anyway, I had a joke character that was a fighter with, like, the lowest constitution in the world. Yeah. And it was based less on his actual HP and more just, he goes for one swing and then just... oh, fuck, okay, that's all I got.
Yeah, he's tired
out. You guys got this right? You know, it's like Megamine from fucking Konosuba. She can cast one spell and that's it. Her entire mana bar is just gone.
Yeah, fair enough. So let's
get a monk who fucking ties his shoelaces together.
No, the monk who can't run fast.
Yeah.
The monk who does not go fast is very telegraphing.
He's really slow.
Yeah. So, what is Boo playing? What are you playing?
Koromon on
Aiden?
Steam.
Yes.
Coromon. It's basically just a new Pokemon style game, but it's actually really, really damn good because I played Sword and Shield and did not care for it at all. A lot of people didn't. I didn't get any of the DLC. I also didn't pick up Arceus Legends, and I just wanted to see if it was a good Pokemon game, and it actually really is.
So there you go. So we're gonna move on to the next one, which I'm gonna have to find a third one probably. If this one takes as long or shorter. Gotta clone them all, Koromon. There you go. So this one is called, as I pull it up here.
This video supported.
The exploration pillar is not what you think. Advanced DM tips. By Zipperon Disney.
Okay.
So there you go.
Be careful with that name, dude.
That's right. You're gonna get clapped, dude. Careful.
Yeah.
So let's see what is not what we think.
This video is supported by Galder's Gazetteer, a 5e expansion for advanced players. Contrary to popular belief, exploration is the pillar of play with the most official support. The real problem is DMs are not used to framing exploration opportunities in a way that the players recognize. And that's because, collectively, we as a community have too narrow a view of what exploration actually is. This video is going to be in two parts. One bit the theoretical, sort of heady way of looking at the exploration pillar. I'm going to talk about some misconceptions it's placed in the game, and then argue that to really appreciate exploration, you have to take a wider view. Then I'm going to use that theory to diagram out the archetypical exploration encounter, delving a dungeon. Then we're going to apply that framework to other areas of the game that DMs don't typically think of as exploration, but actually are. First off, we need to clear something up about this whole 3 pillars framework. There is no cosmic law that says D&D has to be exactly 3 pillars. It's just something that the designers arbitrarily decided. They could have just as easily said there are 2 pillars, dungeons, which is locations and navigating the world, and dragons, which would be fighting monsters and talking to creatures. Or they could have done 6, 1 for each stat, right? Like strength would be fighting, dexterity would be stealthing, charisma would be talking. You get the idea. The point being, there's nothing magical about saying there are exactly 3 parts to the game. But if we are going to divide everything up into 3 neat categories, I think we need to expand our idea of what exploration is. That is, exploration is now everything that isn't fighting or talking. When people think of exploration...
Okay. Man, you go topic to topic.
Yeah,
okay.
Go very, very fast.
It's fair enough. I'm following, at least.
Yeah, I am as well.
So, exploration is everything that isn't combat or social. Yes, true, I guess. I don't think that... because it's so broad, that's easy to say.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's only because... You can only really say that because of how broad the statement is.
Right. And, and also the pillars themselves are already all-encompassing because of the broadness, right?
Yeah.
Or the... I guess they're specific enough, right?
Yeah.
With the idea of there being multiple pillars, that's probably why I was getting confused with all these people saying there are multiple, because they just continue to branch them out because it suits better, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is fair
3
enough.
is a more appealing number than 2, usually.
Yes, yeah, exactly. 3 is a good number to use, and I like 3. 3 is, you know what? Contrary to everyone and everything, I'm going to publicly endorse 3. Man.
Okay.
Great number. I back 3.
Okay. You stand 3. Got it.
I do. I will till I die.
You need to put that on. You need to say that on Twitter and just see what people say. I stand 3.
No, I should.
Just those 3 words. And
really
it's the number 3, not the word 3.
Dude, I'm going to hashtag it as well.
Yeah, no, do it.
That's what I'm going to do. I'll do it on my personal one.
Okay.
I stand #3. Which doesn't turn into a hashtag.
Oh, well, can you do #I stand 3?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, wait. I'm doing it. There it is. Yes.
Okay.
It looks like Istan 3.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna I stand with a capital S 3.
Yeah.
That's right. All right. Nobody looks at my Twitter at all, so it's fine. This will
Yeah, and,
not go
and even if
anywhere.
they do, they're gonna be like, the fuck?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not gonna matter.
I liked Monster Rancher better back in the day. That's fair enough. I replayed Monster Rancher 1 and 2 with the DX remake. It did not age well. That's fair enough.
Well,
3 is a magic number. That's right, Con. You know.
Hmm.
Starts getting better at 3 and 4, but I did like the mechanic in 1, where you trained your monster by having it do work and make money for you. Yeah, it was a good foundation, as far as I'm aware, and that's...
That reminds me of Pow World. It's not out yet. Fuck,
Okay.
that's so funny. Pow World is, Ark, obviously.
Yes.
Basically, imagine Ark if instead of dinosaurs, it was Pokemon stuff. But you can still make assault rifles and shit. And you can fucking enslave the pals and have them work in, like, bullet assembly factories.
Oh, I remember seeing that. Yeah.
It's so fucked up that I'm
was
like,
weird.
hell yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally want that. That's the thing.
Yeah.
3 makes you part of a trinity of witches. That's right, and you cast more powerful spells that way.
Nice. Then you're not a rancher, you're a witch.
That's right.
Well, I mean, I guess you could be a rancher and a witch.
You could. Yeah, you can. This is crazy news, but you can be multiple things.
Yes, it's
It's
true.
insane, I know.
Yeah.
They typically only think of 2 things: delving the dungeon and overland travel. But exploration has to be more than that. If it couldn't be done as a play on a stage or as a tactical minis game, it's exploration. It's how the players connect with all the non-living parts of the world. Yes, it's deciding which doors to open and surviving a trek through the mountains, but it's also which city districts to visit and whether or not to poke the goo. Things that aren't necessarily rules-bound, but still essential player-driven activities. And
Okay. So
Look at those eyes.
that's right. He's staring right at my soul.
Yeah, Jesus. Calm
okay.
down.
So, So he's saying that we're too narrow because we're thinking overland travel and delving dungeons, right?
Yeah.
In which I go, okay, sure. That could be. And then he's saying it is everything from exploring a district to touching goo, which I would say is that not also travel technically, like what you're saying? And
yeah, it could also technically be travel.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is this not in the umbrella of the going across the land and also delving a dungeon? Right? Like, because if we're already at a broad point, right?
Yeah,
with exploration. If we're going to then say everything that isn't combat and social is exploration, we already know that because combat is combat and social is social.
It's social interaction. It's
right?
Like talking.
Exactly. Those
and
are
trying
specific.
to influence people. Yeah.
Yes, those are very specific. And then everything else would already automatically like fall into that third pillar. I would think. Unless we have a nebulous zone around these pillars, or say they hold up the roof of the nebulous building here that we're in, and that's where all the rest of them are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm just, what I'm saying is, I think it's unnecessary for us to need to specify that everything else is part of exploration when that's already kind of the implication.
Yeah.
I think it's just one of those things. I guess it's good for thinking about it, right? Really just like if you didn't think about it before and now this brings you to that realization of, oh, everything else is also part of that, then that's good, I guess. I just think it's very, very implicit.
Yeah. It's not really something you actually need to worry about, in my opinion, either.
Yeah. I'm already kind of like, where are we going here, I guess.
Yeah, and it's less, for me, it's less where are we going and more why are we going here.
Yeah, there's also that, absolutely.
Yeah.
I played Monster Rancher 3, but the art style was such a jarring change when I was a kid, I couldn't overlook it to keep playing. Well, that's fair. This dude has had 20 pots of coffee. No, this is how you do YouTube videos.
Yeah.
You're supposed to have energy, and you're supposed to, like, get the information there fast. Thankfully, he's not doing the movie Bob thing, where you just say random shit that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
Right? He is actually being coherent, and I can follow what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good.
I just
so
wish
far.
that it didn't feel like I was being fucking...
I'm in a marathon. Like,
yeah.
I gotta get to the end, man. I gotta
go.
go.
It's just so fucking intense for like whatever reason. Just like take a breath, calm the fuck down. You can still talk. You can still talk fast without looking like you just literally survived a car crash.
That's true. He is hopped up on adrenaline. Absolutely. Yeah. Like, and like, I get it. It's what you do now. That's part of the thing. As you can see, we don't do that.
It's not, to me, it's not even a problem. It's just so fucking distracting.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. This is the thing. This is to you and I. We notice it and we go, all right, man. I need to take a breath for you.
Yeah. right.
But it's not a negative. It really isn't, because this is engaging. Like,
in a way, yes. Well, gets me to pay attention, I guess.
It's engaging.
Anyway. Yes, finally. Yes. Sorry. Go on. I found a shiny version of the thing that I wanted.
Hell yeah. Good for you. Fair, the art style was either hit or miss. Yeah. 20 pots of southern sweet tea. Oh, God.
Oh, God. So just sugar water. Got it.
I think Movie Bob also cut out the spaces between words. Sometimes, but sometimes he just fucking goes. It's fucking insane. And it hurts. It fucking hurts to listen to. Anyway.
And this is the important part, players are also exploring the narrative world, what setting details to uncover, and what story threads to follow. Exploration is not just the fantastic locations visited, it's the adventure itself.
And zoom-ins, great.
Sure, but to give emphasis. This is the thing. He's already...
Oh, yeah, no. I understand the emphasis. That's fine. It's just combined with the eyes.
No, I get you. No, I understand. Sorry, I wasn't trying to, like, knock or anything.
Wait, what is that book from? I don't have that 5th edition 5e book with Bell.
I don't know, actually. Maybe we'll see.
Because I definitely know that that's a 5e book.
Oh yeah, that's 5e.
But I don't have that one.
It's probably from the one that he sponsored from this video.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, what I just want to highlight, in case I just want to replay it and highlight it.
Exploration is not just the fantastic locations visited, it's the adventure itself. Aside from a few...
So he says, yeah, exploration is not just where you're going, it's also the adventure. It's like, yes, friend.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody needed to know this, but I guess, I'll say it. From the moment that you start, you're exploring in the game.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just one of those things that's just inherent and just not needed to be said, I think.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, who are we talking to? Right?
Yeah.
Because
that phrase also kind of comes up a lot.
Oh, a lot, yes.
Like, who are you talking to? Mm-hmm. Where's the choir that you're preaching to?
I guess potentially very new people. Very new to TTRPGs in general.
Very.
Right?
These fucking ghost cats in this town. Sorry, go on.
You're good. So potentially, like, this would be very helpful to give to somebody who has just started, who's never even played a game. Mm. It has a purpose. I won't say that it doesn't. It's just one of those
absolutely
things.
Does.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that I'm just like, I guess this is who you're talking to, because I don't see this being for veterans or anyone with experience, really, you know? Mm-hmm. Sounds like he's appealing to very raw new people that might be curious about DMing. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Birdie nibbles? What?
Lines of text that support an NPC's personality or the occasional monster stat block. All of what is covered in these books is content for the players to explore. It's the biggest part of the game, and it has the most official content to help you out. All the maps, all the fantastic locations detailed, all the rich world building and plot hooks to follow. All of that is things the players explore when playing the game. It's all there for them to discover. And that is the real driver of exploration, discovery, introducing a new element for the players to react to. The endless promise of uncovering new secrets or finding new wonders is one of the core appeals of tabletop RPGs that no other type of game can offer. And that should be your goal when running exploration scenes, to keep up the sense that there's always something more to discover in the world. When folks talk...
Okay, yeah. It's basically making a world feel lived in, I would say.
Yeah, pretty much.
I need to see the description to this video or something, because I just need to know if this was intended for, like, new people, and if it's said, you know? Give you the tools to fully incorporate the exploration pillar into your D&D game. Most dungeon masters only use a very narrow part of the exploration pillar in their Dungeons & Dragons games, but exploration is more than just overland travel or delving in the dungeon. That's the description. Okay, so already, I guess now I'm looking at this more and going, most dungeon masters only use a very narrow part of the exploration pillar. No, that's not true.
Yeah, no.
Everyone, like everything you've been talking about, everyone uses. They just don't associate it with the pillar, because I don't know about you, but this was the first time when I was exploring this stuff that I had even heard the terms pillars.
Yeah.
I you know, it's just and again, that's not to say that that's a be all end all for anything. I'm just saying that for me at least, never had heard it before, so it really hasn't changed much. But I understand why it's used. It's incredibly easy to categorize these things. Didn't he say we in the community, which implies he is talking to experienced players? Good point.
Yeah.
It's true. He is talking to experienced players. So he's trying to give you a revelation if you are experienced, which I would say this revelation is very minor if you just never thought about it. But the problem is, just knowing that the stuff that I'm doing is now classified in a pillar is not going to help me much.
Yeah, it doesn't change anything about the way that I'm going to run the game.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, I think unless you're, and he probably will, because he said he will. He probably will give us tips as to how to run exploration better. He's probably going to talk about describing things, just like the stuff that we talked about before. Because exploration is pretty easy to say this is a thing that you should do with flowery description sometimes, right?
Yes.
Like, I recall Pathfinder 2e using pillars in the core book, I think, but never in D&D 5e. It could. I don't know. What does what the fuck just a buck mean? Huh?
Who?
Did somebody say that?
I don't know.
Anyway, off to work. Well, fair enough.
Okay.
I have no idea. So, haha. Or maybe it was phase instead of pillar. It's one of the P's. Oh, okay, yeah. It could be. Well, this is the thing. You could call it a pillar, you could call it a phase, you could call it a book, you could call it a, it doesn't change what it is, really. It's just a concept that you have exploration, you have combat, you have social stuff. Like, those concepts exist. Right?
It's fucking cool. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, you're good.
About the off-maligned no support for exploration, what I think they're getting at is there isn't a step-by-step guide for how to do it. But
okay, wait. Now I want to know, for those of you out there in the audience right now / in the future.
Yes.
Oh wait,
Hello,
it's a thing on the wall behind him that I happened to notice just now. Wait, what?
Oh.
Yeah, that's right.
I have no idea what that is.
Anyway, so I want to ask just everyone in general, have you ever heard the statements of there is no exploration support in the official products?
No.
Because, well, this is the thing. I don't know why anyone would say that, right?
I guess because there's so much like materials for, I don't know, I guess like combat and stuff. You know, you get monster manuals, you get all that good shit, but you don't get anything to do with anything about exploration.
Well, so
as a bonus, or
well, so I would immediately go, don't you get maps in your modules? Don't you get explanations of like the terrain and like the areas and stuff? Is that not all there for you? Right? Like, and maybe, I guess, if this is the case, if these people are saying this, then they are very narrow-minded because they don't seem to understand what is in their book when they do it. But again, I don't know who said this, and I will give them the benefit of the doubt. If people have said this, then they're wrong.
Yes.
Right? Like, it's crazy to think that. Well, I get a module and it tells me the locations that I need to go and the world of which that I'm in with that, and like what's here when I go to this specific point in the dungeon, and if I were to do this in the dungeon, like and get a like 20 on my perception, what I would see, and maybe it would help. Like, it's all there, right? It would be insane to say that it's not.
At the same time, there is no support for the social pillar of play. From the game's point of view, roleplay is just something that you do, with dice rolls thrown in at the DM's discretion. In a lot of ways, there's no real support for combat either. The monster manual doesn't really give you tips and tactics for how to use these baddies.
No, it totally does. Just in the descriptions of the monsters alone.
Yeah.
And Volos. You can't tell me the Volos doesn't have all of that.
Right, yeah. So
that's patently false.
Yes, that's very strange that you would say that, friend. But okay.
Yeah, because like, I mean, hell, if you like, I don't remember which one had kobolds in it, but like even just the descriptions of kobolds was like they dig small tunnels that only they can fit through, and they use lots of traps.
Yep, that's right. It tells you how they work.
Yeah, I don't know if that doesn't sound like a.
Yeah, the social stuff as well. Like, it tells you how to roleplay, I guess, but it also tells you like what things influence other things, I guess. With like, let me pull up a few specifics here. Why not?
Go for it.
Let's see, just to, because if we're trying to make the argument that if you see this, then you must also think this, then I guess. But if it's like, so you say this, so this is true. Or sorry, let me reword this. So you say that there's no exploration support, while I say there's none of the other two pillars support either, which is just weird. Where are we in that case, right? I guess I'll go in the PHB to, I don't know, where adventuring? Yeah, social interaction, 185, sure.
Okay. And this is in the DMG?
This is in the player's handbook.
Okay, player's handbook. So even more noticeable.
Yes.
Something that everybody has.
Yes. Social interaction. Interaction takes on many forms. You might need to convince an unscrupulous thief to confess some malfeasance, or you might try to flatter a dragon so that it will spare your life. The DM assumes the role of any characters who are participating in the interaction. So that's already given me two things of like, this is something you can do. Role-playing later, descriptive approach to role-playing, active approach to role-playing, and then ability checks. And then we get to resting, which is the next like big section. So in the active and descriptive, and results of role-playing. Let's see, actually results might give us something. There we go. Interactions in D&D are much like interactions in real life. You can offer NPCs something they want, threaten them with something they fear, or play on their sympathies and goals. You can use words to get almost anything you want. On the other hand, if you insult a proud warrior or speak ill of a noble's allies, your efforts to convince or deceive will fall short. Those are just two, like, and to be fair, it's not a lot, but I don't think you need a lot. Because what it focuses on here is how you roleplay, in the sense of, are you descriptive about it because you're not too you're not like putting yourself in the character shoes. You're saying character name is doing, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or you are like in the role and you say, I get up, I go do the thing, right? Like, so that's really the main focus because of that, because that's what you need to understand. And then the rest of it, with the results of role playing, I think that entire paragraph, the very end paragraph of that, really does tell you all you need to know about it.
Yeah.
So, very strange to say that about social. And then combat, we've already talked about. I don't see how you could say that either. I just want to. You know what? I'll even pull up kobolds if I can find them. I think it's just in the monsters manual.
I think so.
Let's see.
I know they have a lot more descriptives. That's also a great thing to pause on.
True.
Anyway, what am I trying to say? I think the place where I got the kobold stuff might have been in Volos, possibly, but I think even the regular monster manual, if it has kobolds, will also describe that.
Sure.
The trap stuff.
So, Craven reptilian humanoids that worship evil dragons. This is on page 195 of your
so that's
manual.
Instantly they are cowardly.
Yeah, Craven reptilian humanoids that worship evil dragons as demigods, serve them as minions and toadies. Inhabit dragons' lairs when they can, but more commonly infest dungeons, gathering treasures and trinkets to add to their own tiny hordes. Greedy.
Yes.
Kobolds are eggling.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that that also says to me that they're kind of like sniveling weaklings because they're toadies.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. The first little sub-paragraph here with the subheader, excuse me, says strength in numbers, which already tells me they want a lot of them.
They gang up on you?
Yeah, exactly. That's already a tactic. And then this, I'm just looking at those, and then the next one says tunnelers and builders, which again, they tunnel and can build, which can imply structures / traps.
Yes.
It even says in that paragraph, a tripwire might connect to a spring-loaded trap that hurls clay pots of flesh-eating green slime or flings crates of venomous giant centipedes at intruders.
Holy shit.
You've already got things right there. Before that, kobolds also riddle their lairs with traps, just straight up.
There you go.
So
it instantly tells me how to describe an encounter with them.
Physically weak, this is in the strength of numbers. Physically weak, they are easy prey for predators. This vulnerability forces them to band together. Their superior numbers can win battles against powerful adversaries, but often with massive casualties on the kobold side.
So they're Skaven, got it.
Yeah, exactly. They're more Skaven, right? What does the monster manual tell you to do if you smell rotting eggs? Oh, die. Basically. Yeah, and then they have a lost god, and so this already tells me so much about how they work, and then you can look at their stat block and see pack tactics and understand how that works. It's crazy to me to look at the kobold and get so much out of it when then I could just look at the Kraken on the next page 196. It gives me its layer, it gives me what it the foe, it's the foe of or it's in league with the evil princess of elemental water. It's got all of this shit that I can use, and then it has the Kraken stat block, which has even more shit for you to then go with. It's insane.
So there's a lot to work with, and you don't even combat kind of comes with just a description.
Yeah. It's crazy to me that you would even try to make this argument.
Yeah.
Very crazy. I guess you're wrong on both sides in the sense of those who are saying there is no exploration support are wrong, and you are wrong for trying to say that there are no support for combat and social. It's insane. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, it's crazy.
Kobolds are the trap masters of D&D. That's true.
Yes.
They do love their traps.
collection of stat blocks, bits of individual pieces that the DM is expected to put together on their own. Likewise, for the exploration pillar, there is tons of content. It's just the DM is expected.
Oh, okay, wait. Let me pull it back, because I think he's actually saying that there's a lot there. I hope that's what he's actually saying, but I'm going to pull it all the way back and let's just listen.
Okay.
Offer. And that should be your goal when running exploration scenes, to keep up the sense that there's always something more to discover in the world. When folks talk about the oft-maligned no support for exploration, what I think they're getting at is there isn't a step-by-step guide for how to do it. But at the same time, there is no support for the social pillar of play. From the game's point of view, roleplay is just something that you do, with dice rolls thrown in at the DM's discretion. In a lot of ways, there's no real support for combat either. The monster manual doesn't really give you tips and tactics for how to use these baddies. It's just a collection of stat blocks, bits of individual pieces that the DM is expected to put together on their own. Likewise, for the exploration pillar, there is tons of content. It's just the DM.
Okay, because that likewise at the end implies that he's saying that this is also the case. So I think what he's actually saying, and so I'll retract if this is true, what I've previously said, but I think what he's saying is, so you think that, but this is actually
but
the
you
case.
are wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
In which case, okay, good.
Bad way to word it, but
yeah, with the combat thing specifically, you're wrong in the sense of that there's no real like things there for you, I would say. There are pieces, I guess, quote unquote, but it's just a description and the stat block that you need to read really to understand. Plus, here's the big brain thing. As the DM, you can make them act however the fuck you want.
Yeah.
Oh! DM is expected to figure out how to weave it together on their own. Part of the problem is there's not a strong framework in the collective conscious for thinking about exploration. Combat, with all its math, is down to a science in the online RPG brain trust. And generally, everyone accepts that social interaction falls on a spectrum from roleplay to roleplay. But there isn't a widely used method or process when talking about exploration. And generally, my point of view is, if something has a process instead of just figuring it out ad hoc, then you can build upon it and improve it. So where can we find this structure for exploration? Well, it's right there in the player's handbook, where they define what the exploration pillar is. They give you the core of it, but I think it's something DMs tend to overlook. It's the give and take between the players narrating their actions and the DM determining the results. In other words, the exploration pillar is really the quintessential DM question. What do you do? In this framework, exploration is the part we typically think of as just playing the game. It's that cycle we all know and love, and it goes something like this. Setup, react, resolution, back to setup. In a published module in a dungeon, the setup is actually pretty clear. Read the box text. It sets the scene. It creates atmosphere by using flowery prose and appealing to the senses. It points out key features worthy of attention. A good setup invites the players to respond to what was just presented, even without the ubiquitous, what do you do? Step 2 is the players respond by declaring their intention. I kick down the door. I examine the strange tome. I continue down the hall, prodding with my 10-foot pole. And step 3 is the DM resolves the intent of their actions. Now, sometimes there's a mechanical barrier, make a check to foil the trap or push the boulder, and sometimes not. Sometimes the door just opens. Now, with or without a mechanical barrier, the resolution always takes one of two forms. Either the current fiction is being affected, the statue is knocked over, you swing over the pit, you close the gate, or it's resolved by introducing something new into the fiction, a discovery being made. And keep in mind that discovery is what we're after, because each and every time the players discover something new, it's an opportunity to repeat this cycle. It keeps the game moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, overall, just you're right about all this.
Yeah.
There's not much to be said, unfortunately, because it's just like...
It's just another one of those times where it's like, yes.
Yes, exactly, because otherwise, like, what are you doing, you know? Because but it's the whole thing of, like, I guess, again, do we need to really specify that this is part of exploration? And I guess for those people that don't understand what exploration is, quote unquote, if they do exist, then... again, I don't know, but if they do exist and they're very confused as to why there's no setting stuff, then I don't know what, like they probably have their own word for what they're doing outside of the travel and dungeon crawling, right?
Yeah, at least you would assume so.
I would assume so, and then they're already kind of figuring out what to do, just because they understand it differently. It's just it's a difference of definitions at this point, right? Like that's it. I always proud with my 10-foot pole. He just like me for real. That's right.
The benefit of realizing that exploration is that cycle of player DM, action, reaction, is that you can apply that familiar structure to other areas of gameplay that need to be explored.
That structure applies to in the entirety of D&D.
Yeah.
Like every single aspect, not just exploration. It's also social interactions where you're going up to a person, you say hello, and then you ask them a question. And then you're trying to get information out of them, which is a whole thing. And then you can get back to a point where you're trying to get different bits of information. Like, you're doing the same thing there. Combat can be taking out enemies is the next step. And then you get to the resolution, which is the end of the combat, or somebody died. You know, like, all of these things apply. Or it applies to all of these things, excuse me. So this revelation, again, is very strange to me, because the revelation has always been there. It's just we've never given it, I guess, this specific of a definition.
Yeah, because most of it's like trying to this kind of feels to me like someone really examining and thinking about the act of sitting in a chair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay. And you actually like take the time to examine and concentrate on every motion and every muscle you use to just sit in a chair or breathe or brush your teeth. And like, it's like, on the one hand, sure, it's interesting to think about, but on the other hand, you don't really need to.
Right.
It's just not necessary.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think I could go up to a new player and not use all of this and tell them exactly the same information.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
and you could say, hey, we're going to explore now. And most people will get the idea that's like, okay, we're going to be walking around and checking stuff out, you know, maybe investigating things that catch my interest.
Yeah.
Like,
I think he's really overcomplicating something very simple.
Yeah, that's the thing. And
so,
and again, it's fine if you want to look into that, but it just doesn't really seem like it's worth doing.
Right. It seems, at least to us, it seems rather unnecessary to go into such detail. I guess if you really like, it would be good for a game design standpoint, right?
Yeah.
Really looking into this and wanting to understand how D&D works. And designing your own TTRPG maybe. Or anything really. You understand the game loop, right?
Yeah.
The game loop applies throughout the game, coincidentally enough. So I think it's just, I think what we would do here is say just D&D has a game loop. That's the title, right?
Pretty much.
So
title of the episode.
It's right. It's just basically just recognize there's a game loop here, and if you understand how to use it, you can probably build off it very easily. But I don't think
as is usual for when you understand a loop.
Yeah, exactly. So like I think
what the fuck is that thing?
I think
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. The mystery, I guess, that we have here that's being presented doesn't seem mysterious to me when it applies to the entire thing.
Yeah. What the fuck is this thing? It's so weird.
You can already imagine how this would play out in another area of gameplay, like a city. You do the setup when they enter a new district or exit a building by describing the chatter of a nearby market, the distant ringing of church bells, the stench of a tanner. The players react, they go looking for weapons or go find a tavern, and then you resolve. Maybe they make a charisma check to barter, or maybe their background lets them get into the temple without fuss. But you either change what's happening as a result of their actions, knowing players something probably caught fire, or the heroes discovered something new. Maybe it's a sewer system. Maybe it's a rare book in a library. Maybe it's a thieves guild. or a rumor. And that's the point. You can apply this idea not just to locations like cities or planescapes, but to politics, lore, story threads, and other narrative features. When players are exploring the story, they are choosing what parts of the world they want to develop and discover. I tend to run a pretty sandbox style game. My players are free to choose which threads they pull on to unveil the breadth and depth of the setting. This is one of the reasons I don't necessarily like lore dumps. I typically only reveal lore my players poke and prod. Like in Dark Souls or Morrowind, understanding the world only comes from a deliberate attempt by the players. This not only creates the feeling that the knowledge is really earned and hence valuable, but it also fulfills our purpose of exploration. The players are discovering the world. You already know how to do exploration scenes. The issue is, this is typically only done with any sort of forethought or structure to a very narrow slice of what exploration is. I think a lot of DMs will just artlessly hand their players a list of quests and say adventure. But
whoa.
Okay.
That's an assertion.
That is. Man,
that's an assertion.
That's fighting words there.
That's crazy that you would say that. Why would you think that? Why?
And if you think that, why would you openly say that in a video?
I'm sorry. It's flabbergasting. That's what it is.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Okay, so I think even the most basic of DMs also put their thought into it. Now, I've used the two paths thing before to demonstrate it's not so great sometimes when new DMs happen, but they're new, so it's fine.
Yes.
But even that, like, had some semblance of care and not just
behind it?
Yeah, quite literally, it was, I guess, if you want to be as reductive as possible, the quest giver said, I need you to do a quest, and then we went and did the quest. Though, I will say, we did go to a town, found out some stuff about it, and then got to the point where we could finish the quest, and then got a bunch of other things to happen with, like, looting and treasure, right? So there was more than just, I give you quest, you go do quest, go to next quest, because there was a lot more there. So I'm very confused why you think most would do this, because that is very broad.
Either most or a lot. Did he say a lot or most?
He might. Let's.
I don't remember.
Let's find out.
The players are discovering the world. You already know how to do exploration scenes. The issue is, this is typically only done with any sort of forethought or structure to a very narrow slice of what exploration is. I think a lot of DMs will just hand their...
Okay, yeah. A lot
See, now, a lot is a very different word.
Yeah.
That's a very different word than most.
Right, you're right. So, a lot... The problem is, a lot is very easy to backpedal on. A lot is very easy to go, well, I didn't mean...
I didn't mean you.
Right, exactly.
Shiny frog! Sorry.
So, but even so, you're still painting a very broad stroke that I'm not a fan of, friend.
Yeah, we don't like broad strokes.
We like broad
the short,
strokes.
fast strokes.
Right, that's right. I'm a short, fast strokeman. But but legitimately, the only time where I'm fine with broad strokes is when I can agree to that kind of generalization, like most people who play D&D like D&D.
Yeah, or most people enjoy pizza.
Yes, exactly.
You know?
Right? So, like, those kinds of things we're good with here, but a lot of DMs just give out quests, and give out a list of quests, and that's it, is very strange to me.
Yeah. Sorry, Frog, I don't care.
Sir, you have challenged my competency as a DM, and for that we must duel to the death to settle this.
1500 XP for the shiny frog!
Players list of quests and say adventure. But this is really unsatisfying because there's no setup.
See, it would be unsatisfying if that was the case.
Yeah, it's not always just gonna be the case.
Yeah,
come on.
With a lot of them, quote unquote, I think a lot of them put in a lot more effort than that, you know?
Just a regular frog.
But literally, if they make a town and they let you go around it, that's already counter to what you're doing. Like what you're saying, excuse me.
Yeah.
So I guess, do you have bad experiences with a lot of DMs? I need to know who you've talked to, man.
Yeah.
You're talking about these people who don't seem to think that exploration is given a lot of due, and you're talking to these people who apparently give lists of quests and that's fucking it. Go. Right? Like that. Are they playing Skyrim?
Here's the thing. There are times when a list of quests makes perfect sense within the world.
Yeah, that's also true.
Like in mine, how you are an odd jobber person.
Right. But that's the thing.
And
the difference there is that we have a broad world to explore and we know it.
Yes.
Plus, like, even those jobs, that's right. Even those jobs can lead to different things, right?
Exactly.
It's more than just...
It usually does.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
the thing. They're usually just the setup.
Yeah. So, I'm baffled, man. I don't know where we are. Where did we go? Who hurt you? Name this bad DM. Yeah, exactly. I need names.
Yeah. Have you been watching too much Crit Crab?
Exactly.
Because I'm going to tell you right now that that's not the majority of people.
No.
That's like the fucking outliers.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Exactly.
There's no tension in that presentation. There's no sense of discovery lying in wait. And the same thing happens when DMs are trying to present their political world. They'll just hand the players a list of factions with names and descriptions.
Will they?
That's somehow going to get the players to care about the intricate and complex relationships.
Okay.
Will they?
So...
Because I wouldn't.
So, I'm building my world. My second continent thing. And political intrigue is going to be a major part of it.
Oh God. I'm so bad at that.
Oh, me too. But I want to
can't do it.
try, you know? And the houses that, or the guilds, or I don't really know what I'm gonna call them specifically, but I think houses is good. The houses all want power throughout the land itself, though they don't want to declare open war. Yeah. Because I took inspiration from Eberron as well, where the last time big wars would happen, they created a fucking crazy magic zone. And they don't want that shit to happen again. And it's one of those things that they don't know how it happened, so they don't want to do anything that was associated with that, right? So they don't want to do big war. So I want to... Basically, I want to start players in that game with very little knowledge of these factions, maybe, or maybe just enough that they know like who they are. They don't know what they do. They don't know, all this kind of stuff. But I'm going to give them that information when it becomes relevant or if they ask for it, right?
Yeah.
It's not me giving them a fucking document unless, I guess, they're creating a character and they want to have a stronger connection with one of the factions.
Yeah, that would be the only time. And even then, yes. I would never give a list. I would basically just give them the fucking cliff notes.
Right, exactly.
Because even people, like, even if you're an FBI agent, you don't know everything about the fucking FBI.
No, absolutely not. Just, you give them what's relevant to the character and what
Shout
they would
out to
know.
my FBI guy.
That's right. You give them what's relevant to the character, and you give them general information that anyone could find out, right?
Yes.
And then you can expand on that with individual relationships in that faction, maybe, or, all that kind of stuff. And then as they play, they might learn more or they might not. But I don't... Where is your list coming from, friend?
Yeah.
Were you given a list?
Were you given what was on the list?
What was on the list, friend? What was on the list?
I was guilty of that too until I found a better way.
Oh,
how exactly?
He was getting out the lists.
Oh, okay. So to be fair, new players could do this. Absolutely, it's possible. Not great to do. But,
definitely not.
But it is something that you learn from.
Yes.
Pretty easily. Plus, I would think that while you're playing, that these things would come up with, like, okay, what about this? What about, we're doing this thing for this guild, and now we've done it. What have they done now because of that, right? Like,
yeah, what's changed?
What has changed, exactly? Like, what is the angle here? Did they tell us the entire truth? Like,
what's the next quest in this quest line?
Right, exactly. So, and it's fair, and I'm not going to knock anybody for doing this, because at some point, sure, I'm sure a lot of people have done it, but again, we're talking about a lot of people, apparently.
Yeah.
And so if a lot of people in your definition means a lot of new DMs, which I don't know at this point, because we're talking to experienced people with your statements from before, I'm very confused at who your audience is.
Yeah. And the fact that you're not wording it in a more
clear,
elaborative sense.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a word, but I'm going to fucking
elaborative,
pretend
yeah.
it is.
No, I think
elaborative?
it is. Oh. Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, then.
Players a plot hook is probably a topic worthy of its own video. But if we look at that exploration cycle, there are definitely things we can do to improve the play experience of letting our players discover the story and world. Step 1 is the setup. What should we do when we start a new scene or uncover a new bit of the story? Our lessons from the box text tell us that we should establish atmosphere by appealing to the senses. The purpose being we want to point out areas that are worthy of the player's attention. But what if we want to go beyond a location? How do we incorporate that into a sense of global exploration? Well, we can't appeal to physical senses, but we can still do a sense of mystery, a sense of dread, a sense of intrigue or terror.
Okay.
The prose you use to dress up a plot hook can create the atmosphere for that part of the story that's intriguing enough for your players to want to explore it. Sure. And more than just your fancy words, what you should really be focusing on is
I don't want to let it slip by too far. Your physical senses include your sight, so you could see something in the distance.
I think what he meant in that instance was things that are, since it was global exploration, it's describing things that you can't possibly see.
I guess, yeah, that's true.
That's the only thing. That's my only idea.
Okay.
But
if that's the case, then sure. But again, a map exists. I don't know.
Yes, a map does exist.
terror. The prose you use to dress up a plot hook can create the atmosphere for that part of the story that's intriguing enough for your players to want to explore it. And more than just your fancy words, what you should really be focusing on is giving the players something clear to act on, because that's our second step. The player's action is obviously mostly on the players, but there are still things you as a DM can do to sort of coach your players along. When your players are describing their reaction to what they have just uncovered, after you get their initial response, try to get them to elaborate on their intent. How are they approaching the sewer district? What exact info are they looking for in the secret history of the Black Dawn? The intent is important because it really guides our next step, the resolution. Now, obviously you can just drop a hook in front of the players, but if you want to add a mechanical gate, there are a few things you can do. You can use the knowledge skills like history, arcana, or religion. Or you can tie the ability to unlock a certain area of the story to a character's background, or maybe it's only accessible after they've finished another quest. Whether or not you decide to gate it, the resolution of discovering a new bit of the story is either your players are going to affect the current narrative, or they've introduced a new bit of the story for them to discover. The first one, you get to help tell a cool story, but you can tell a story with your friends without the help of a DM. It's that second form of resolution, the continually revealing of new plots, setting details, secret lore, the fact that there is always something more to discover than what's being shown just at the table. That's what makes RPGs so captivating. The benefit of this more structural approach is that it allows you really to take advantage of one of the unique aspects of the exploration pillar. Unlike other pillars of play, exploration has scale. Unless you're using a homebrew system for mass combat, fight scenes are always at the individual level.
So there is more scale to combat. There can be.
Yeah. It's not that hard. It's pretty easy.
Also, people seem to forget that the DMG or the player's handbook, one of the two, has like siege warfare weapons.
Yeah.
So, and like
I think
rules
that's the
for
DMG.
It's probably in the DMG, yeah. But it's literally for, like, it tells you how much damage it'll do to a structure.
Yeah.
So, and that implies sieges, which implies large armies, right?
Which implies
mass combat, which is scale.
Yes.
Crazy. So, and social scale, I guess, is harder to really
talking to 3 people instead of 2.
Yeah.
I get, you know what? Okay. I was joking, but the scale in a social encounter could probably be like a public speaker,
Right.
or
yeah.
a large market, or
Yeah.
a public execution.
Yeah. Very much could be. So I guess I would need to know your definition of scale, friend.
Yeah.
Just like I need to know your definitions of a few other things.
Yeah.
Likewise, social interaction is a tete-a-tete between players and individual PCs.
Scary
players
vision.
don't normally take on the role of an entire guild or a royal family. Their character might be the head of a faction, but players aren't expected to take on playing a multitude. But exploration, it goes from the split-second decision of a single...
So then scale means... For you, then scale means that they need to be multiple characters? That's interesting. I guess, sure, but it's very, I don't know.
Character, what they do when they hear a trap go click, all the way to the cosmos spanning an epic, a great odyssey across 10 years over many planes. Even though exploration is both the micro decisions of whether or not to pull a lever or which hall to go down, and the macro level of the days crossing the wilds or embarking on a new adventure, exploration follows the same structure. The point being, anytime the DM sets a new scene, they should take the opportunity to remind players of what new things there are to discover. Yeah, that's it. That's the video, folks. Stay tuned real fast. I want to tell you about the new playtest packet for Galder's Gazetteer.
Okay.
I don't care. I think so.
I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah.
You were sponsored, but we were not. So go watch the video and give support, or look in the links in the video, I guess. You heard the name, Galder's Gazetteer. Look that up as well. There you go. Free publicity for you already. But, you know, good for you that you were sponsored.
Yes.
Again, I think it's been overcomplicated. But
Far too much.
But that's the thing. I guess if it's something that you want, it's there, you know.
It's just a fucking water jellyfish thing.
Weird. I just think
it's called Jella. Yeah, sorry.
I just think that if your audience is new players, we can simplify this very easily. We don't need to worry about. We can literally just say combat is combat. Social is when you combat is when you fight people, social is when you talk to people, and exploration is literally everything else.
Yeah, pretty much.
If we really want to use those pillars, otherwise we can just explain how the game works, and I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, that's the thing. We could always just not bother with even labeling what you're doing and just do it.
Rules Layers here. Hey, what's up? DMG has social interaction rules that DMs may use, page 244 to 246, but most players and DMs don't know about them or don't use them. That's a good shout. I would love to go see those right now.
No, don't kill me! Okay, good, he didn't. Thank you,
see.
AI.
244. Social interaction.
Yes!
During a social interaction, you're fine. Okay, it's the starting attitude and then conversation to change attitude, determine characteristics, charisma checks, aiding the checks, multiple checks, repeating checks, role playing as the NPCs to engage them, and that's kind of it. Okay, I see. This is okay. So, for someone, I would say for someone who's already done has played a TTRPG before, this is unnecessary. Because it's just things that you would know inherently. I think just after playing. But for a new player, it could very much help. That's just how the DMG is, right? We've always said if you're brand new, the DMG is a great tool. But if you're experienced, the DMG is fine, you know?
This thing's fucking cool!
Yeah.
My shit just evolved, it's awesome.
Nice. Sometimes your name is J.K. Rowling, and you need people to know about the poop on the floor. That's so unnecessary.
You certainly do.
God. I always thought that it was everything that you're not in combat or social interaction or downtime. So downtime could also be exploration.
Yeah,
you could make the argument easily. Like, what are you doing during your downtime? Oh, you're creating weapons, so you're finding those kinds of things and then making your own thing. Like, this is the thing. These 3 pillars, like you said in the video even, the 3 pillars could be multiple pillars. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
You can specify as much as you need to, but you can make it as broad as you need to as well. So it really doesn't matter how you classify them, but since we're going from this framework, like, everything that isn't the social and the combat pillars is a exploration pillar, basically. So, anyway, that was that. Overall, it's fine as a video. Like, it's not bad. It's just, complex for a new player, I would say.
Yeah.
And again, if it's not a new player, then the audience is, for an experienced player, I think they don't need this.
Yeah, they don't need this.
So again, I don't know what we're doing, but it's fine.
Yeah.
So let's take the time, as
Very
it is a good time for it to be the midpoint.
Yes.
So, hello out there. Welcome to Shoutouts and Shill Talk. That's right. It's time for me to shout out and also shill. Talk. So, let's move over to this. There we go. We have a Patreon. Wow. TableTalk. Patreon.com/TableTalkDND. Again, Patreon.com/TableTalkDND. If you would like to join it, there are multiple tiers. Tier 1 is $1, tier 2 is $5, tier 3 is $10, and tier 4 is $15. It is not an obligation, it is an option. So, that being said, we do have lovely patrons. Thank you to all of you who have supported us tier 2 and up. That is, from the top, Draco Kraken. Thank you. Then it is Mog0. Thank you. And then, of course, Unit Rico, aka Rick. Thank you. Slazer. Thank you. Steely. Thank you as well. Drake Cross. Thank you very much. Chris. Thank you. Frozen Spaghetti. Thank you as well. Kill Chrono. A thank you goes to you. And finally, Lux, the Fiendish Fool. Thank you so much. So, if you would like to support it, it's in the description, or should be, and it will be in the description of the VOD. Again, want to remind you, not an obligation. Please, only donate if you feel like you can. Please think of yourself first. We are contributing all this money to a dice fund that should, hopefully, once my tax return comes in, because it was accepted and everything, should already be done soon, hopefully. We shall see how long it takes for the government to give me my damn money.
Yeah.
But other than that, you can, of course, support us through getting a t-shirt or other such thing through TeePublic with our logo on it, and a percentage of it does go towards the artist who has done our PFPs as well. So thank you if you do decide to get a physical object. And of course, last but certainly not least, we are partnered with Humble Bundle, which they've just put out the April bundle, which showrunners are Ghost Runner and Destroy All Humans.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, I've just gotten it myself. A few other games in there, so check it out if you're interested. There's a link in the description that if you use that link, you can support us and Tabletop Alliance, which is also in the description for you to look at, a charity that uses tabletop stuff, tabletop games to spread community and help people and all of that good stuff. And if you use our link, you can just support them and us, and you can get Elden Ring, I guess, or you could get all these other bundles, like the Soulbound bundle that's still going on for the 24 books in the Warhammer Age of Sigmar Soulbound RPG. There's also Killing Floor collection and a bunch of cool stuff. yeah, Killing Floor and Killing Floor 2. I think it's got mostly Killing Floor 2 stuff.
Mhm.
And all that. So, yeah. Think about it if you would like, and help support us and charity.
Yes.
But that being
Mostly us, though.
well, no, well, you get sliders, so you can support whatever.
Oh
you
man,
want.
I like sliders. They're delicious.
Yeah, sliders are really good. So yeah, we're gonna move on to a video that I need to find because
God, I hope the host is calmer than this. My stress is just through the goddamn roof.
So there was something that might be useful here, but let me see if I can find it again, because I didn't think that we would get through 2 videos.
Yeah.
But much to my chagrin, we did. So whilst we're here, how are you doing out there, everybody in chat land? And those of you in VOD land, how are you doing? Let me know in the comments.
Nobody's gonna comment, you know that.
Well, shut up. Sometimes they do, actually, because we did
really?
we did get a comment.
Oh, a comment.
Yeah. Well, we got 2 technically, but one of them is a mainstay.
Hey, fucking shiny bee.
Nice. Oh, weird. I logged on and it said you were live, but I was watching the beginning of the stream. Oh, strange.
Oh, interesting.
I guess sometimes that happens. I don't know. But welcome to the now. So I don't want to go through a 30-minute video. That would be too much at this point. We could do. What is it? We could do, I guess, this one's called D&D Exploration DM Tips. There was one specifically, and if it's not popping up, that's fine. Because we might just do that, and we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Is it really only 10:42? Goddamn.
Yeah, we've been breezing through, and it's not been that long.
Yeah.
So it might be a shorter podcast, everybody.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you were here.
Yes.
Okay. Let's do this one then. This one is called Exploration. Sorry. D&D Exploration DM Tips by Nerd Kingdom.
That name sounds familiar.
I have never heard of this person before.
Hello there, guys.
So we'll see how it goes. All right. So, yes. Nerd Kingdom, take it away.
The video. So when I think about fantasy and what makes a good fantasy game, film, or novel, I always tend to think about exploration.
Okay.
About strange and unique places. There's something amazing about playing a game, seeing a strange marker on a hill and traveling to that random place because you're just curious. Because most exploration takes place on the journey between point A and point B, a section of gameplay that most DMs will skip over, D&D, I've found, often tends to fall flat when trying to recreate this. I mean, many DMs, even experienced ones, know how to do combat and role-playing incredibly well, but will often struggle with letting players explore. This is because of a few reasons, namely, you can plan almost every combat and most role-playing encounters in a campaign, but letting players explore freely could essentially double or even triple the prep work required to run a game.
That is true.
Yeah.
Because, like, let me tell you, thinking about everything in Worlds when when you just let them go, like I do, sometimes, sometimes it takes a little while. I've been working on this other continent for years, on and off. Just because, mostly because I'm bad at keeping to working on it, but but also because I gotta think of like a lot of things. I was literally researching architecture at one point just to make it so I could like understand what it would maybe look like in each of the different like factions places. And that took a while.
I bet
to kind of figure out what they were called. First and foremost,
just so the actual architectural styles.
Yes.
Yes.
The actual styles, and then more work to then understand which one would go to each thing. And then assigning names to them.
Yes.
So it takes a little while, and that was like I was doing that for a while before a D&D session actually that I was gonna play that day. But it just takes some time. Freedom equals more work. Time to box these kiddos. That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Well, that makes it incredibly easy if you do something that's easier. Excuse me. When you do something that's more linear, obviously.
Yes.
But that's just not my style.
Yeah.
Like I appreciate it and I like it, but it's just not how I do things. I literally just started getting ideas for custom gods. Like I'm at that point now where I'm like, maybe I should go even grander scale so that I can get down to the mini shit. Because that'll help me a bit. But anyway, so be prepared for work.
Oh, yeah. If you're building an open world, it takes even more than writing, you're building a world.
Yeah.
It's not that easy.
Yeah.
Now, do you use Agrio's thingy online?
I haven't yet because I want to figure out everything else first.
Oh, okay.
And because then I can start placing things.
Yeah, that one I really, really love that thing because it just makes a continent, like it just generates a continent, and it even gives you like the mountain ranges and rivers and lakes and all that good shit.
Yeah.
And you can remove it. You like go in and remove it if you don't want it to be there and all that. And it just kind of helps give you a foundation to build off of.
Yeah, yeah.
It was really helpful for me when I made my continent.
So, when I took a long, hard look at my D&D game and realised that between badass boss battles with ancient dragons and political decisions making roleplay this intricate political adventure that would shape the landscape for years to come, I had let the third pillar of D&D fall by the wayside. I realised that I needed to create a change. If you two are looking to find a way to make your world feel bigger, more interesting, then improving the exploration in your game is a really good way of going about doing that.
Yeah.
But remember that in doing so, you are encouraging your players to become distracted from the central story.
Also true.
There are a few quick ways to improve exploration in your games, or to add it into your games to begin with. Just before I show you what I've come up with, a little disclaimer. I've attached a ton of links to these in the descriptions. Nobody has asked me or sponsored me to do this. These are tools that I genuinely use in my games, and I highly recommend.
There you go.
If you have something that you like to use, or something that I haven't covered in this video, then I would love to hear about it myself. So please pop it in the comment section, or send me a message about it. Anyway, on to the list. Because exploration is largely a visual thing, like imagine you're playing a game, and you see a point of interest. My first tip is to make it a visual thing in D&D. Now, this can be done by including artwork and maps. Most pre-made settings have detailed maps of certain areas with places of interest noted on them. Also, the internet is a wonderful place to find some fantasy D&D artwork displaying certain scenes.
Unfortunately, if you're us, we can't use a lot of that. Because copyrights.
Yeah.
But
how sad.
That means we have to put in more work and create our own custom ones.
Yep.
But no, I think it's a very good idea to use maps and stuff, even if you just take, even if it's for like a dungeon or whatever, and you just get a random dungeon generator, or you do what Boo suggested with the map site, and you create a continent that way, and then you can kind of give them more of that visualization, or custom make it, or custom draw it, or whatever you want to do with that kind of thing. It will help a lot for people to visualize, because oddly enough, even though descriptions are great, sometimes the visual can help immensely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Immensely.
The best thing is that all of this is quick and easy and can be shared to the entire table via Messenger or other social media apps.
Sure.
Nothing creates a sense of awe like showing an image of a shop shelf filled with magical items. Maybe a muddy trail leads off the beaten path. A visual clue can make this far more interesting for your players. So my next tip is sound. It's no secret that films and games use sound to control their audience's mood. Most DMs will use sound in their games to help create atmosphere. But if you're the type of DM that also has 1 or 2 playlists for D&D with no real variety, then check out Brian Davis on Spotify. His playlists for all situations are well made, all instrumental, and are something I personally use on a game-by-game basis.
Okay.
Now, you'd be right in saying sound isn't really exploration. Of course not. But when you describe a journey through a muddy, fog-filled swamp, and the music emulates the same danger and suspense that the players are feeling, the players around your table will remember that sense of unease. It makes even a minor, loose description of a location feel more alive. The link to this guy's Spotify is in the description, and I highly recommend giving it a look. So
there you go. That's another absolutely great tip, I would say. We use music.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah, it's
again, can't use some of the stuff we like or that we really, really want because, I mean, all the music I use is what I like, but can't use what we really, really want because copyright.
But, I mean, this is something that is not an issue for most people, right?
Yeah.
It's just something you can just put on a playlist and put it on your speaker or on your phone, and then you just got it, right? So, good for you!
Next on the list, we have random dungeons. For players wanting to explore, spending some time with a notebook and pen and crafting up 5 or 6 one-page dungeons is a great way to add some variety to your game. It doesn't need to be special, just an interesting place that the players could spend a game exploring on their way to the next major location. Now, I recommend making it yourself, as you know your players, what they like, and how to create an interesting random dungeon adventure for them better than anyone else. But if you don't have the time, then in the description I have a link to a collection of one-page dungeons by Sage Advice, plus a tool for making your own. Imagine your
It's very helpful, thank you. Yeah, so I guess my only contention would be you can make a bunch of these, but the odds of them going for these would really depend on your setting them up, right? Because if you don't make it like an interesting rumor or just something of interest that is like on a map, or somebody tells them, oh, it's not mapped, right? Because nobody goes there, right?
Yeah.
You know, give them a reason to want to go. That's how you get them to go there. And the other problem I would see is they take a lot of time to be in those dungeons. Now, not to say that, you know, if it is an open world kind of thing, then at least in my perspective, take all the fucking time you want. You're fine, right?
Yeah.
But if you do want to get to the next story beat or whatever, it could very well, you know, cut into that very easily. So just, you know, have some care.
players are exploring the hills around a small town and stumble across a small cave in which they shelter to spend the night. As they rest, they hear the sound of stone being moved and look up to see a cultist exiting a secret stone entranceway that leads into an unexplored dungeon within. It's cool, it's random, and it's memorable. So my next tip...
So the other thing that this now brings up, at least in my mind, is travel. Just the how we do it, right? Because like you said, a lot of the time you skip over travel because it takes a fucking while. And we've talked about travel before. The ways to do it are numerous. The execution of it can be hit or miss at times, right? It really, really depends on your group.
Yes.
And if you want this exploration stuff to happen, then you need a group that is going to really gel with that, right?
Yes.
Especially in this kind of sense where they're traveling, and that's how they find these kinds of things, just because they come across them on their travels, right? Unless you have it be a specific point that they are told to go to sometimes for some groups, they'll never even think about it, right? They'll never want to go there because it's not, they go from one town to the next, in a session, in like a couple of minutes because you described how they got there. And unless something very notable happens along the way, they're probably not going to be, waylaid. So it's just another thing that you got to keep track of, basically, as a DM. How do your players react to travel? Do they love it? Do they hate it? Oh, man. Because in that case, then what I would say, actually, if you want to put these ruins and kinds of things, put them embedded into towns or into places of interest, or make them their own thing that they have to go to, like I said. But if you want to make it kind of these random things that are more organic, you might have it be that somebody stumbles across these things by trying to put in a new basement in their house, right? Then you have a whole catacomb now that's underground that was never mapped before. And so now you have this thing that is going around town, the rumors and stuff, and now people are wanting to go down there, or don't want to go down there because they don't fucking know, and then you get to go down there because you're an adventuring party, right? There are examples that one could come up with.
Yeah.
I have come up with one. That is your one.
Takes place in towns and cities. I found that the best way to explore a town or a city or an urban environment is to create a notice board of side quests. Now, these should have a purpose beyond go here, kill this. These will point the PCs to interesting characters and also interesting and unique locations within the city or town.
It's almost like a certain notice board that's outside of a certain business that takes odd jobs. That's crazy.
Yeah, almost.
Allowing them to explore further whilst tugging on the narrative threads of a minor adventure. Maybe they are led to an important character that will later be needed to help them defeat the big bad evil guy of the campaign.
Good.
By completing her side quest first, she is much more likely to hear the PCs out and offer her aid. Again, for those looking for an easy list, D&D Speak have a great list of about 100 random notice board adventures that I've linked in the description. And there are several people on DM's Guild that have made some fantastic notice boards for different places in the Sword Coast, specifically centered around the pre-made adventures the Wizards of the Coast have released. So
I think the biggest thing that we can take away from here is that if you need something, it's out there.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and that's really helpful to know and to try to internalize as a newer DM, I would say. Because sometimes it can be overwhelming, right? Even experienced DMs, I get overwhelmed all the time. So like having these things out there that you can just go get and then you can reference or you can use or you can just piecemeal from, it's so nice.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It really is.
So just remember.
Yeah.
So my last tip is one that I came up with myself. When players travel from point A to point B, they might need to roll a survival check to not get lost on their journey. This is usually quite a low DC, especially if there's a road, and if they're exploring through a forest or a swamp, the DC might get a bit higher. Instead of just having this be a random roll with no other purpose, I've made a list of 30 random events and locations that they might find along the way.
But it's a D20 roll.
The lower the...
yeah.
See, up at the top of the list is...
You can have a plus to it.
Oh, I know. It's just kind of funny.
Yeah.
Survival check, the worse the results will tend to be, going from things like monster encounters or stumbling into a random dungeon. And the higher they roll, you tend to have things like discovering like natural flora and fauna, finding some NPCs, maybe coming across a small guard post. The important thing to remember about this list, however, is that these results are largely just buzzwords for the DM to create a random encounter. For example, if the DM wants to keep the adventure moving, they might see a giant eagle in the sky that swoops down and grabs hold of a wolf. It might not be a combat encounter for the players, just an interesting event that stands out on their journey. A list like this can be made for different settings too, and it can be something incredibly personal to the DM. You might make a list specifically for the Underdark, one for cities, forests. The one you see here is the one that I refer to. Some details can be added if you don't feel comfortable with improvising a scenario based on the buzzwords. And in fact, I've put some examples in for each of the different options on this list.
Incredibly
you could
helpful.
even combine this with interesting NPCs or locations that you've designed earlier, including some random combat encounters that you've come up with. Well, guys, that is all for today's video. Only a short one today. I hope you guys found this useful. Exploration is often one of those pillars of D&D that just gets kind of forgotten about. And if you're looking to sort of bring that back into your campaign and into your setting, I hope you consider some of these little tips. And if you have any that I've not mentioned on here, please let me know, and I'd be really interested to see what you guys have come up with of a way of emphasizing exploration in Dungeons and Dragons. Thanks again, guys. I hope you have a wonderful day and keep safe.
Nice.
Keep safe. What are you gonna fucking do to me?
What are you gonna do to me? I felt really cozy listening to that, you know? Like, not meme Cody cozy. No. I mean, like, I felt comfortable, you know?
Yeah. Mostly because his cadence was quite slow.
Yes.
And not
not breakneck
not in a bad way.
speeds. No.
I didn't feel like someone was drilling a hole into my skull with their eyes. That was nice.
Yeah, I think all of those tips are very good. Very useful. No matter what your skill level is, really.
Yeah.
Something you might have not thought about, and also has things for you to reference. That he even has custom made one. Like, you know, is good. It's good. I could go find another video, but I think we got the point, right? Like, exploration is pretty much what has been discussed here. And I think it's very easy to. It is easy and also hard to do.
Yes.
Because it really depends on how long you want to take with it and what kind of campaign you're running and what kind of players you have, you know? Everything's situational, but there are helpful little tips and tricks that you can do regardless, you know? Will the rest of the stream be us watching Boo play Koromon? No.
Yeah, no.
No, I think it's a good point for us to you know, let us have a little shorter stream. We've been doing some longer ones as of late, so having a shorter one doesn't feel too bad. So thank you again.
Yes.
All of you out there, those of you right in the chat there who've been listening and paying attention live, and those of you in the future in the VOD. We're gonna move on to comments.
Yes.
And then we're gonna get the fuck out of here. So, comment. Bop. And there we are. So, the first one comes from GM Arc Bolt, who left a comment on our 4th edition coverage on episode 100. It's very short, very brief, and cool. They say, 4E is and has been since its launch my favorite edition of D&D. That's cool. Glad for you. I hope you continue to enjoy it, because it seems good. It seems like it's another edition of D&D, which is good. And of course, our last episode has a Lux comment. So, this was on fixing subclasses, a topic that we will get back to, I promise, but not anytime soon.
Yes.
So Lux says, I still don't know much about 5e. but I'm going to talk about it anyway. At least it has some information available on the internet. That's true. Reading the description myself now for the Assassin's Assassinate ability, I would have interpret the term the combat to refer to the entire fight. In other words, you can use this ability against the target on the first round of a fight, or in a surprise round, and only if they haven't taken an action yet. It seems excessive to give a character advantage on an attack every round just because their initiative roll was higher than their opponent's. Also, the idea of an assassin is to catch someone unprepared and do as much damage as possible to them immediately, hopefully taking them out. If it drags out into a longer fight, that's not what the assassin is meant to deal with. Though the assassin is still going to have the standard rogue abilities to fall back on. Yes. I don't know. I might have muddled the water a bit in that video. I don't know. But that is exactly how it works, and that's how I interpreted it as well. I might have said things wrong or misinterpreted something in the actual episode, so I apologize for that, if that is the case. And I led you to believe that I thought something else, or that we thought something else about Assassinate. But that is exactly how it works, and it's meant to continue to, or at least to me, it seems that the Assassinate, like every round that you get to do something before another opponent, that's still like in theme of like you doing something before they're prepared, quote unquote. But it's Assassinate. I don't know, man. Assassins are fine.
they're fine.
They're fine, but they need work.
Yes.
At third level, when you get Assassinate, your sneak attack damage from the rogue class will be 2d6. So you can sneak attack for weapon damage plus 2d6 sneak attack damage against any creature that hasn't taken an action yet. Yes, and that gets doubled. Because in 5e, everything gets doubled that isn't a modifier.
Yes.
This much only puts you on par with a standard 3.5 rogue, but if the target is surprised, you get double that number of dice. So your potential damage from sneak attack alone at this point would be 46 or 4 to 24, and this will increase as you gain levels. That's true. Once you get to 17th level for Death Strike, your sneak attack damage from rogue is 96. Assassinate is letting you double that if the target is surprised, and Death Strike is letting you double that again. From what I can tell, 5e doesn't have a general rule on whether multipliers stack additively or multiplicatively. If it's additive, it comes out as 27d6 sneak attack damage. If it's multiplicatively, it will be 36d6 damage. So that's either 27 to 162 damage or 36 to 216 damage, before you also add the damage from the weapon itself. It's true. It's either one of those, and I don't know which, I'll be honest. So I don't think that this part of an assassin's ability needs to be buffed at all. It's basically just an extremely focused roll. Yes. The assassin's part in group combat would be to nuke a single enemy right at the very beginning, hopefully giving the party enough of a head start to carry through the rest of the way. And the assassin can still fight like a standard rogue from that point on. This is, of course, dependent on things going right. The target could pass their Constitution save and prevent you from applying the Death Strike modifier, or you could whiff your attack despite having advantage. You could fail to surprise the enemy and not get your critical hit or Death Strike multiplier, and you could suck at your initiative roll and not even get your initial sneak attack damage. But for the amount of damage you can potentially do with this, I think the risks are only fair. Anything that powerful needs a steep drawback. If you don't want the high risk, high reward playstyle, choose a different archetype. I would agree. The infiltration ability might be subpar compared to other classes and archetypes, but I honestly think it's still a fair trade-off for the damage potential. I wouldn't say it necessarily requires solo gameplay to use, though getting its full potential out of it would likely require splitting the party, unless the party are all infiltration characters. Sure, the more obvious way to use this class would be to fool the guards with your disguise so that you can reach your target and take them out. But if your assassination attempt fails, you're going to be isolated deep inside an enemy base with no one to save you, which probably means you get to roll a new character. Yeah. Which is why I don't think it's that viable for a team, like a cooperative oriented story game, you know. But I understand that it is like, I did say that it is it feels more solo, but that's what I mean by it. It just, I don't know, it just feels like you're going off on your adventure alone, and then maybe you'll come back, or maybe you'll die. But the other thing you can do is just use your disguise ability to gather information. Don't take a lot of risks, just get into the base, find out anything useful, and bring that information back to the party, or whoever can use it. This could be part of your party's plan to storm the dungeon, or it just be a quest for an NPC that will lead to something later. Either way, you just have to be creative in finding a way to use it, which is very true. You're absolutely correct. I don't know. Like I said, I might just be too narrow-minded with it, but I don't know. I feel like you could do that without having a skill for it, you know? Because this requires, at least I believe it was infiltration, it might be the other one, it requires like a week's worth for you to, no, I'm thinking imposter, I think. Regardless, one of them requires a week's worth of you to like establish yourself.
Yeah.
Which I think you could still do all this just roleplay wise. It doesn't need to be a set ability.
Yeah.
But regardless. At the same time, solo campaigns do exist, and I really don't mind having a character archetype designed specifically for that. It's just one character build out of plenty of alternatives. That's also true. You're right. You're absolutely right. Also, as they are, assassins make a pretty good NPC to use against the party. Some things in D&D are just more useful as something that goes against the party than having something the players themselves use. I really don't see that as a problem either. The players have plenty of other things they can use. Sure. So I guess this comment ended up being my defense of assassins in 5e. I would put it down as a class that you would take if you specifically wanted to use that type of character, not one to take just to maximize your power. But that's fine. We can have a few of those. And let's not forget, an assassin is also a rogue. They can still do everything a standard rogue can do. The archetype just focuses them more into that role their player chose for them. Which I agree to, but I also think that you could, again, do all of this, except for, I guess, the specific assassin abilities, obviously, in a different archetype, and still be as effective.
Yes.
You know, that's my stance on it. And again, I'm willing to be wrong on it, and I'm willing to be called narrow-minded on it. But it's just how I think about it more so, and it's why I don't play assassins.
Yeah.
With that all being said, if you want to play an assassin 5e, but you don't want the extreme focus on the hit or miss massive damage at the beginning of combat, or the infiltration abilities don't fit with the way you want to play the game, maybe you should look at the 3.5 Assassin Prestige class for ideas. It basically gets proficiency with poisons, a death strike ability that requires it to study its target for 3 rounds before making a sneak attack that can kill or paralyze its foe instantly if the target fails a save, and a spell list, plus some progression with standard rogue abilities. You should be able to adapt that into a reasonably good 5e archetype. That's true. And this is a long enough for a comment. 1000 XP. Good night. Oh shit, we're gonna level up. Nice. Just now jumping back in. Looks like we're up to my comment. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. So ultimately, like, I agree with you. I just have a different take on assassins, and I think that the way that D&D 5e is designed, I think it doesn't fit as well. It would fit, I mean, it does fit in like a solo experience kind of thing, which do exist, as you pointed out. But D&D overall, with that being in the player's handbook at release, it just doesn't fit the overall vibe of it, I think, to me at least.
Yeah.
So again, like I said, willing to be wrong, willing to be called narrow-minded. I'm just not an assassin boy, and I think it needs some work. That being said, I think that's everything.
Yeah, I think we're done.
So
I think our work here is done.
That's right.
Oh, god damn it! I hate how they have the shinies. sometimes. So frustrating.
Does it at least give you more experience when you kill him?
Oh, yeah, you get a ton more XP.
That's good. But anyway, one last thank you to all of our lovely patrons. That is, of course, Draco Kraken, Mog Zero, Rick, aka Unit Rico, Slazer, Steely, Drake Cross, Chris, Frozen Spaghetti, Kill Chrono, and Lux, the Fiendish Fool. Thank you to all of you for hanging out with us. Those of you who watch it in the future, if you leave comments, if you leave likes, if you leave all of that shit, thank you so much. Good night. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.